Welcome back to the Garden State Outdoorsman podcast presented by Boondocks Hunting. I'm your host, Mike Nitre.
I'm Justin Devlin.
I'm Peyton Smith.
And I'm Andrew Fitzgerald.
First of all, we want to start happy Halloween, everyone. We're dropping this tomorrow. I'm gonna edit this like right away the minute we're done. So this is our spooky season Halloween podcast update number 3. If Andrew sounds a little muffled, he's in the car right now. He just got done with the hunt. Andrew, tell us how that hunt went. Anything interesting going on?
Yeah, I had my shooter buck daylight in a good bit, and I tried to come up with a plan to get in there and slip in. It wasn't a great win for an access, my normal access, so I tried to get creative, and I knew where he was. I knew where he was going to be, and me and Justin kind of came up with a little plan and a little strategy of figuring if we bump him, like if I bump him, then I bump him. At least he wouldn't get my wind, and it would just be a bump. And then hopefully, turn into like a bump and dump situation, and he'd come back through. And that's exactly what happened. I bumped him right where I expected to bump him out of. Drew back on him at 70 yards. Couldn't get one off, and he went past my camera, kind of trotting past my camera about, 340, and he just never came back through. So, not great, but,
Not it's a long season, not the end of it. And you expected going in that you were going to bump him, and the plan worked for the most part, except for you just never came back, which, I guess can happen.
Well, in theory, I didn't really. He was one of those bucks, and I know I preach a lot about bumping deer and stuff, but in this case, I didn't really want to bump him because he was very, very patternable. He's been doing the same thing pretty often, in the sense of daylighting. When, I don't know, but he's been daylighting a ton. In the last 2 days, he's daylighted more than he has all season so far, and it's been pretty nonstop, and I knew he was going to be in there. I just hoped that the bump would have been a little softer than what it was, and I'm sure that's what kept him away. But he hauled ass past me, but it seemed like he was kind of trotting past the camera when the video uploaded. So I'm hoping he just hit that the creek bottom at the bottom there and just kind of held up in there. And once he saw that I wasn't still following him, then he started to relax a little bit, I hope. And
that's what I think.
I'm hoping the time of the year helps. I'm hoping that he didn't get my wind helps. I'm hoping all these things didn't ruin a good thing, but I guess only time will tell.
Yeah. No, and those are you gotta take chances sometimes. Something that we talked about, getting aggressive, and that's something that you did. And I think in the long run, I don't think this is gonna hurt you. I think 100% what you said, and what I think even Justin agrees with, and Payne can even agree with. He probably got down to that river bottom, and he probably just slowed up, and it was a safe space. He escaped danger, and I think there's just too many does, and I think now after Friday, he's what else?
Dominant deer.
Yeah, like what else is he? He's the deer right now in that area. So no reason for him not to come back.
Yeah, and in a sense that's true. It's one of those situations where it's a small private piece, and I do that a lot on public land, and I have a lot more faith in public land when I do it, because I feel like, if I mess it up, I can go drive to another piece of public land. And usually when I do super aggressive moves like that, it's because a deer isn't daylighting. And when I do something like this today, it starts to make me second guess the decision a little bit. And it's just because I wasn't successful. Now, if I was successful, I'd be on this podcast saying, well, that was all part of the plan. So it's, a damned if you do, damned if you don't. kind of scenario. And after he bumped, maybe an hour and a half later, 2 does worked past me. So it did leave me a little bit of hope that I didn't blow up the area.
From the direction, from the direction that he went.
Yeah, from the direction he ran to, 2 does two mature nanny does ended up working past me. So I did feel a little bit better with that, and I will say I sat yesterday morning, and he daylighted a good bunch yesterday morning, but I did see one of the bigger deer I've seen in hunting, not in New Jersey, in hunting, and he is very close to, like, he's only a spitting distance away from there. So although the buck that I did bump today is the top deer right now, if that deer gets lost and follows that creek.
It sounds like we lost him, but I will
we
speak for
might have
him in the
lost him.
sense that if that buck bumps and he follows that creek, or if he
Works
moves
out.
at all and follows that creek, we'll be in the game. So
So we don't know if you
was
can
that?
hear us. He was just finishing what you said. Like I said, everyone, Andrew is currently in the car right now driving, so we might lose him every once in a while. Andrew, he was
Hello?
just finishing exactly what you said. Yeah, we don't know if Andrew can hear us. But I guess we might as well
Hello?
continue. Just to text him and say that we can hear him, but he can't hear us. We're gonna continue. You continued what he said. But once that's done, the real reason, we're giving you guys this update so quickly is something big happened. And we said that in the last episode, Friday, all of us were going to be out. And that Andrew said he believes a deer will be killed before Halloween. All of us went into the hunt pretty confident.
even Peyton said when Peyton sent a text message, he was like, I got a good feeling for all of us tonight. And that was right before we pulled up to the property. And I liked that message, and it put good vibes in the air.
It was a good vibe.
Glad I
It
could
was,
be
it
of
was
assistance.
warm. It was a warm hunt, but it was like,
very warm.
I don't know. It was there was a lot of confidence. I thought, it could have easily gone away where maybe 2 of us got one. But I just remember just sitting up. I'm like, wow, this is beautiful. Like, last day, everyone wants to fill the fall bow tag. Like, you want to, but when you're chasing more mature deer or a certain deer, you have to understand that you may take a tag soup, right? It's the name of the
Especially on some
game.
Public land pieces.
Yeah, especially on public land.
You might do it for 3 years in between your last buck.
Yeah, like Justin, and like
Or
you
2.
look at Andrew too. He, it's been a year and a half, 2 years.
Yep.
Right. They come. Yes, there's some people that could kill them every year and multiple, and of course they get paid and everything like that. But it's difficult when you work, when you got school, everything like that. But why don't we get into the story? Our boy, our boy Justin,
Put
got
one
it
down.
done.
Yep. So there was a buck that me and Andrew had show up. We called him Thickums. He was a 7-point, but on his right side where he had the 7th point, it was palmated in between that point, and the palmation went pretty far up, and the mass is just awesome. Great frame deer. On camera, the thing looked massive. Like, he looked huge. So we were really excited to chase him. Definitely a mature buck. So we had him coming in and out of these 2 areas and 2 different bedding areas, and we were hunting him in this one spot right outside the bedding area, and we sat a couple times. He would show up literally on the days we would hunt every other day, and he'd show up every other day on the days we weren't hunting. So as I'm in the stand one morning, Andrew, we had an SD card camera that I put out like about a month ago in that bedding area, and we hadn't checked it at all. And Andrew said that we should probably check that camera, and I said, yeah, I agree. So where I was sitting in the tree at the time was I was on the edge, kind of overlooking the neighbor's property on the other edge of the bedding area. So he goes in there about 9:30, and I see a huge frame deer, big body deer, run out of that bedding area onto the neighbors. So we were like, oh, that's a good sign. Andrew's wind was pretty good. We thought, like, not a terrible bump. So he checks that card, and we said that deer was in there like almost every single day in daylight. In that bedding area, it's in a nice little thicket in a spot to where a deer could feel so comfortable being, with no pressure and nothing, nobody really going in there at all. Like, when I set that SD camera up, it was raining, and like I said, it was like a month ago, so it was early in October. So yeah, we checked that card. It was loaded, and we made a plan that Friday would be the best day for the wind to go in there and hunt it. So we'd set up to where I was going to push in from the left side of this bedding and kind of get in it near where that camera was, and Andrew was going to be on the right side, so that if the buck went one way or the other, we would kind of have it covered on our property. So we get down there. We get all ready. Andrew drops me off on the other side, close to the bedding. I get ready. It was, like I said, it was a hot day, so I got a fresh new clothes on, light clothes, my turkey clothes, believe it or not, because it was that warm, 75 degrees. I get out of the truck at like 3:30, 3:40-ish, and start walking in. As soon as I walk in and I'm about to like walk down the hill into this thicket, I see legs through the thicket. So I'm like, oh, great, they're already right there. And then I hear chasing. So it sounded like a little buck chasing a doe or something like that. Then I see a doe, and she either heard me, I think she heard me, not saw me, and she kind of bumped left a little bit, and which was a perfect way for her to bump to kind of get away. And I watched her. She kind of just like kind of played off, like she kind of like was just acting goofy and just went away. And so I was able to slip down there a little bit more, and I bumped like a spike or a forkhorn, something like that, going through. Because like I said, it's super thick, and I'm trying to be super quiet, and I have some cover noise. But when you're in the bedding like that, it's kind of tough not to spook any deer when you're in farm country, and there's not a lot of thickets like that around. So all the deer that are in the area are kind of condensed. So I spiked that, I spooked that spike, and he went in a good area too. And so I was still pretty confident that it would be good. So I'm pushing close to that camera, and I see a tree that I would have pretty decent cover in, right on the outside, because I wanted to stay to the outside of the bedding as possible, outside of this thicket, because of the wind. Like, the more I pushed in, the more I thought it would hurt me. So I'm hunting with a saddle, so I'm putting my third stick up. I only have 4 sticks, so I'm almost at the top. And I stopped and paused for a second, and I thought, if I'm in this tree, I'm not going to be able to shoot left around the tree because of the way that the foliage was there. I was really only going to be able to shoot to the right side, and I feel like that could really hurt me. And if, God forbid, the deer does go downwind, I won't be able to get any shot, and he's done, and game over. But so I'm looking, and there's a tree more in the middle of it all, and it was more risky for sure. But I thought, like, I got pretty long legs. If I could get as high and step as high as I can on each stick and get as high as I can in this tree, I'll be good enough to get high enough so that they won't see me or smell me if they come in that close. So I take all my stuff down, I move over, I'm getting set up, and I'm taking really slow because I want to be really quiet because I'm in it, and I get to the top. I get like 18 to 20 foot high pretty much in this tree, which for saddle I feel like is pretty crazy, or at least for what I've had so far. And so I get up there, and immediately I spot a doe at like 80 yards, and I didn't like where I had my bow hook like hooked on there, so I wanted to readjust it. So I readjust that, whatever, and I'm still watching her. Then Andrew texts me, and he's like, I just want to see the distance of how far we are. I'm going to grunt. So I said, okay. He grunts. I text him back. Don't hear anything. I'm still trying to get that hook set in while like watching her and trying to do it as she's, not paying attention. And I get it hooked up. Like 5 minutes goes by. I got in the tree at 4:30. It's probably about like, 4:15-ish. Then I text Andrew. I'm like, oh, I heard that one. He was like, heard what? And I said, the grunt. He was like, no, I didn't grunt. And so then I thought, and like a breeze came by, and I thought I heard chasing while that breeze came by, and then the breeze kind of stopped, and I didn't hear much, but there was squirrels in the area and everything, so I was like, it could have been that. Um, then all of a sudden, I like 4:30, just about, like 15 minutes later, even it felt like a hell of a lot less than that. I just see that palmated side move in the brush. And sure enough, he just comes out on a string. Like he pops out at like 45, 50 yards, and he's just trotting towards me. And I ranged these two trees, and he passed the one at 25, and then the other one was 15. And he keeps coming, he keeps coming. I'm not at full draw at all. He's just coming at me, and I'm kind of nervous because he's getting close, and I'm not at full draw yet. But I didn't want to draw while he was just looking up and around. So finally, he puts his head down, and he goes under this overhanging branch. I draw really slow, and I'm only holding the draw for like 10 seconds. He takes a step, he stops, and I was like settling on him. I'm about to shoot. And then he takes another step. So then I stopped him, and then only took about 2 seconds, shot, hit him, clipped the shoulder just a little bit, which was good, I think. And you could tell, dropped him like chest to the ground. He does that chest run where they run with their chest on the ground, gets up, runs about 60, 70 yards, does that thing where they stop, and I'm watching him just pour out. He does two swirls and runs in a circle twice and just out. And then it was just all screaming and shaking and phone calls from there. It was just awesome. I didn't even have an opportunity to really shake. Like I was starting to shake, like I got that drop hollow feeling in my stomach as soon as I saw him, but it all happened so quick that I really wasn't able to be fully shaken by the time he got there, which helped me out so much, because once I saw that deer, it would have been game over. If I saw him at 200 yards and watched him come in the whole time, I would have been in a worse place. But yeah, so it was great. I mean, on a 75-degree day to shoot a mature buck at 4:30 is kind of crazy, but I guess 26 to sit, put in the time, and stuff will happen.
And Justin's not really painting that picture fully. Like he's being a little modest about the spot, because both of our spots, how the wind was, it was gonna be like we were in it or bust kind of day, because they could have came from almost 360 for both of us, and the wind was far from ideal.
Yeah, it wasn't ideal, but it was the best that we were going to get for that week, and we knew that if we didn't make a move like that week, then it was going to be tough. Or we thought tougher compared to the pattern that we had.
Where the wind was going for me was kind of like subpar for where both the deer, for where deer mainly travel. It wasn't good. It wasn't good for either one. It just wasn't horrible. It was more like what it was. Like good and great were out of the question. It just wasn't horrible, is what I was able to say. And where Justin was, because I was like, I don't know, maybe 50, not even 50 yards from the bed, just on the opposite side of the bedroom. And he was, maybe 30 to 50 yards from the bed, just on the upper side. And those deer could have popped out anywhere, like 360 around him, and I'd say 180 in front of me. Like it could have happened a million different ways. So for it to happen the way that it did,
it couldn't have gotten more perfect, for sure. Like there wasn't a better place in that spot for a deer to stand than where he stood when I shot him. And even, it's funny, we should post the text message, a conversation between me and Andrew that whole way getting in there. Like I'm texting him like, dude, you got to get up in the stand right now after you drop me off, after I saw those deer chasing in the bottom, as soon as I'm walking in. Then he texted me, once I got set up and we talked about the ground, he was like, you feel confident in there? And I texted him back. I was like, this is the best place I've been all season. Like you just see trails running through and just sign everywhere. And then, a couple minutes after that, then it got crazy. But yeah, it did an unforgettable day for sure. Crazy good buck. I'm getting him mounted, picking up the mount on Wednesday, or picking up, everything to be mounted on Wednesday. Super proud of him, super proud of the shot, especially after after my little bit of struggle in the past couple of years with does and bad shots and misses and things like that, it was great to just absolutely crush them right in the pump house. And for second year of my life, I mean, 2 great bucks. Really, really can't complain of where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
You know what the best thing about this whole conversation, and I'm, just like Peyton, so many things could have just gone differently. And I just love how you said that you set up in a tree. And Peyton, I think on Friday too as well. You were setting up in a tree. You didn't feel confident. There's something that's in your head saying that this is not it.
Yep.
I need to move. And you have to I really you have to key on in those moments. It happened to me in my first ever hunt with a saddle. Got up in the saddle, wasn't comfortable, got down, picked a different tree, got set up, killed the doe later. With Peyton, you didn't kill anything, but you had to make that adjustment. And then Justin, with you, it pays off. Sometimes
if I sat that other tree, that deer is still walking. Yep, without a doubt. I wouldn't have been able to get the shot that I had.
Yeah, I did the same thing. It was just getting up and then unfortunately, something I could have done, I guess, differently is maybe in the future, don't bring all my stuff up with me. Maybe kind of just set your sticks and then climb back down and get all your heavier stuff, because I had all my sticks dangling from my it made a bunch of noise when I moved. So going forward, definitely know not to do that. But something you said that was interesting that I've spent a lot of time thinking about recently was that you didn't have time to panic, or you didn't have time to get all riled up. And I think there's a lot of value in that. When I shot this deer last year, I often say that I didn't have time to freak out and I was shooting just purely on instinct. And I think that's when kind of that time you spend alone driving there and visualizing it in your head and visualizing success and all those mental reps that you do over and over and over again, really, that's when it pays off, in that moment where you don't get to think. You didn't have time to range it. You had to adjust based off where you've ranged previously.
Yep.
And you made a judgment call just based off instinct. And in my opinion, that's when I've had the best shots of my life. The deer I shot 2 weeks ago now, the first shot, not so good. And ended up putting a follow-up shot in him that was just, I got to get this arrow off now. Pure instinct, hard shot. And versus the other shot that I had way more time to set up, the instinct shot on a whim that was just knock the arrow, draw, and let it fly.
Drill them.
Ended up being the perfect shot.
And
you don't want it to go that way, but the instinct, there's a lot of value to it, I think.
Not only that, because I see that too. I see that when you just let your instincts take over, you usually get a much better outcome. I always feel like. But that's not always with everyone. I hear a lot. I try not to get that. Settling my pet, I'm not going to.
Cutting out a lot, Andrew. Is that just on my end?
Yeah, no, Andrew, you're breaking up. But yeah, the way that I referenced it last week about the drawing on deer from the tree and everything, the deer that I'm not going to shoot or anything, but just getting that practice, I felt that in that moment without a doubt. I just felt comfortable with my pin on a deer, if that makes sense. I felt comfortable aiming. It became more of that muscle memory when I aimed. I felt because I had done that. So an update podcast and an update from that strategy, and it definitely helped.
Yeah. I think just visualizing, just from the mental perspective too, even more than that. Well, I mean, not more than that. There's definitely value, but as well as that, just when you're sitting I'm sitting in the office, daydreaming in meetings, thinking about exactly how I'd want certain setups to go, and just kind of running through the laundry list of items of things that could go wrong or go astray, and how you would respond in that moment in the hunt. And I think it makes things slow down in the moment, and just thinking about it.
Yep.
Just what you would do in those reactions is kind of give yourself those mental puzzles. Like, what happens if the deer comes from this totally opposite direction? How am I going to pivot in the saddle, get my bow, and get to drawing from cover? Where can I, if that deer comes from, here, and he's coming hot, he's chasing, what cover am I picking out that he's going to move behind that's going to give me that opportunity to get to draw? It's just doing those mental exercises I put a lot of value on lately.
Yeah, and it pays off. I agree. I do, but yeah, it was a hell of a weekend, that's for sure. Still riding the high from it. Super happy, super proud, and yeah, we put in the hours for it. It was a team win for all of us, like especially me and Andrew, just being on that property together. Like we truly try and work as a team when it comes to that. And I shot the buck, but it was a team win for sure.
You guys have been hitting it really hard. Well deserved.
Yeah, no,
well
it really
earned here.
has. I've actually hit the mute button on Andrew, so I don't know, and I don't know how to unmute. There he goes. Okay.
I do want to touch on something real quick, if you guys can hear me for a minute. I know, I apologize.
Yeah, we got you now.
When it comes to the shooting thing, like you guys were just talking about, not everybody could just go off the instinct, because some people do have a checklist and need to go down that. I do notice, like, sometimes, like, just being so confident really helps. Like, I always tell Justin or whoever I'm with, like, the only thing I need is to see one, and I'm good. Like, if he comes in, I'm good. And I just trust myself. And I try to never, ever second guess myself, because once I start second guessing it is when it really, really goes downhill. So it is like trusting your instincts, but it's more than that. It's more like all I need to do is for the situation to appear, and I'm good. That's it. It's game over. And that confidence, I feel, really carries me through a lot.
Yeah.
Because that's
where
really
the
what it's about. It's a lot. Yeah. Once you start hesitating and second guessing, and there's too much room for error. So I try to just think, you know what, like, I've been here before. I've been here, done this. Let's go. And then, I always try to say to myself, there'll be time to shake and celebrate after. So
yeah.
I try to keep those things in my head, and it doesn't always work, but those are like something really good to practice with. Like, as you're driving, maybe just repeat to yourself, all I need to do is for this, to see one. That's all I need, is to just see one, and it's game over. It's done. 40 yards and in, I'm good. It's done.
Pretty true.
So.
I couldn't agree more. We could definitely touch on the subject more, like going forward, because it's a pretty good one. You know what I mean? It's a, people get it regardless. I think, buck fever, whatever the case is, but the minute you just start thinking a little too much with archery, it's a game of inches. And you just really, you need to do your best not to think. At least for me, for Justin, with you, for Peyton, I think we all agree. The minute we all start thinking and you start second guessing yourself, that's where the issues come. So it's something to work on. And anyone else, if you see yourself, it's something that you definitely can work on. And it's just something to add to the list to work on in the off season too, as well.
And that's not to say just go out there and sling them either. It's more of
definitely not.
Definitely not.
It's like
yeah,
it's,
definitely not.
I don't think that changes much. If you go out and you shoot at deer, you're not training your mind any differently.
Nope.
You're shooting at everything, and you're still picking up those bad habits, and you're still going to make bad shots.
Yep.
So I agree. Don't, if you're someone that needs, can do that, and you don't have those issues, and you just send it, and you got great shots, hey, listen, kudos to you, but at some point you are going to, there is going to be a bad shot somewhere. Something's going to go wrong. Something I've seen a lot recently too is deflections. I've been seeing a lot of deflections. I know I've sent you guys that one where I wish we had that type of luck where if it did deflect, it went right
Yeah,
into the
it
deer's
deflected
neck,
great.
right
Yeah.
into the jugular, and just like that was the easy track job. But like,
Yeah.
it's crazy. You never know what's gonna happen out there. We have this idea, but like, there's just so much unknown into everything that we do that, we don't know what, tomorrow, what we're gonna see, what type of, the biggest damn deer in the world can step in front of us. You know what I mean? And you just
Especially now.
especially
time,
especially now.
And I do want to say something about Justin's fun too. I know I'm kind of going back. I'm trying to not interrupt while I'm in bad areas with service-wise here, but Justin coming into the season wasn't like a super crazy aggressive hunter, and that move that we did that day was a very, very aggressive thing to do. Like,
Yep.
it wasn't anything short of like we were borderline like, okay, if it doesn't work, you're gonna bust up that whole bed. Like, it needs to work for him, because where he was, if he didn't get a shot, he was sure to kick deer out, getting out.
Yeah,
Sure.
without a doubt. Yeah.
And the season, he wasn't like that. So there's an it factor there. And I know I've talked about this before, like Peyton and Justin, like Peyton, just because I think I am Justin's most recent, there's an it factor there. And not many people do that, where they adjust. Like, Justin kind of saw it a little bit in action on a turkey hunt in the spring, where like I showed him something, we came back a little while later, and it worked. Like, as far as like deer movement, and he brought new tactics to the table this year, and kind of tried more aggressive tactics, and it paid off. And that's something to talk about, because not everybody's willing to change and to do things. And a lot of people stay stagnant and do the same thing over and over again. It's you see the real savages in a room and the real killers in a room when you see guys that adapt on a fly and kill deer. Now, I'm sure Justin would have loved to have gotten into a nice comfy ladder stand or a nice comfy box blind and sat there and been done. But that's not what he did, and that's not what Peyton did that day either. Walk in and, that speaks volumes about a hunter, because you got to be able to adapt, especially getting into the time of the year that we're in now. And that's really what separates, in my opinion, like a real, like a killer instead of just someone that goes out to the wall.
Yeah, it was definitely something new. It was definitely something new, and it definitely worked out, and it definitely gives me more confidence to try something like that in the future, without a doubt. It's risky, but risky sometimes pays off.
I feel like Andrew's gonna have some hate.
What was
soon. That? I feel like you're gonna get some hate after that one, because I guarantee you there's gonna be a bunch of people that say, "Well, I just get in my ladder set and my box blind, and they
with
kill
my
giants.
crossbow and my corn pile, and I get her done."
And you know what? Let me tell you. I actually been getting negative comments and stuff like that, because I do hunt aggressively, and it hasn't worked out for me. And something that Justin did recently to kill that deer, I did something very similar. I tried to slip into a spot where I knew that there was a buck for a fact, and I tried to do something that I've done 100 times before and had really good success with, and today it simply just didn't pan out. And it's not always going to pan out. And I get a lot of negative for that, because it's like, if you go into my father's home right now, he's got a wall full of booked deer on his wall, and he does not move from that tree. Very rarely does he ever move. He sits and he waits, and that works for him. And if that works for you and you enjoy that, and that's what you feel confident in, then you know what? More power to you. You should keep doing that. I'm very anti. I lose confidence very quickly in spots, and I'm a big believer on creatures of habit. So if they're not doing that, something interrupted their habit. So I feel sometimes moving helps a lot more with that. And That's not to say that you're not going to kill him from the ladder stand with a crossbow and hit corn pile. But I feel like if you sit there 10 times and he doesn't show 10 times, that's not his daily habit. That doesn't mean that number 11 doesn't, sit 11, he's going to come by and you're going to kill him, because he very well could. It absolutely could, and it happens every day. But I really look for those habits, those daily habits. And I mean, you couldn't have drawn up Justin's deer any more perfectly to a daily habit. Clearly, he's moving out of that bedding area, whether it's the time of year or not. He did that so naturally, so perfect, and we always talk about a plan coming together. And very rarely, you may have a plan and still be successful, but I'm going to say very rarely does a plan ever come that perfectly together, where
I don't think
everything works.
I don't think you could 100% blame it on the time of year either. I mean, I think that the reason why he came out at 4:30 might have been because it was October 27th, but I think even if it was October 9th, like, he was still coming out at an hour before daylight or an hour before dark in that kind of confined bedding area where that he was comfortable in there, given the camera data. And even if you didn't have that camera data, I mean, from the camera data on the outsides of it and what you knew about that property, that there was deer moving in that thicket, in that bedding area daily, without a doubt, in daylight, because that's the only place that they could move in daylight without being exposed in the fields or anything like that. So in farm country, it kind of told the story without needing to, without the cameras, but the cameras just gave us that extra bit of confidence there. But yep, I agree.
Yeah, and then you take a situation like Dayton, where he's walking kind of big timber sections and wood sections, and finding the deer sign and sitting there, and it's like, in my opinion, there's not much of a difference in that. If you're finding large amounts of deer sign and you're sitting over that, that's no different than what Justin did. It just happened to be the only thicket around 4 major fields. So that's where all the deer sign was condensed, because it had to be. There was nowhere else for them to be, outside of, some small drainage ditches and stuff like that. So these are things that you got to pick up on. And a lot of times in that terrain where you're hunting agriculture, you're not going to pick up on those things without being aggressive. So although aggressive doesn't always work, and like in my case today, it just did not work out for me today. But sometimes it will, and you gotta, I guess you do have to trust that it will. And you know what? I'm sure your ladder stand will work great too. So, really, whatever floats your boat.
No, I mean, listen, there's all different ways of getting it done. But certain people have their styles, others, it's night and day. Whatever makes you happy at the end of the day, whatever way gets it done legally, it's the best, is the best you're gonna do, But
Agreed.
Guys, we got a busy week upcoming. I imagine we'll all be out. I know Andrew's going to be out a lot. I'm going to be out a lot. Justin is going to be on the rebound and getting out a lot. Peyton, you'll be out a lot this week, I imagine. Sweet November is upon us. We are October 31st. One of my favorite days to hunt. And then we got a beautiful cold front. Like, Jesus Christ, just off of
gorgeous.
From yesterday to today alone was 20-something degree drop?
27 where I was at.
27, so a 27 degree drop in certain areas, probably even more in others. Right now, tomorrow morning should be a low of 35. Wednesday, and of course now it's supposed to be mostly sunny on Wednesday, and not, I switched my damn day off. It is supposed to be 29 degrees. Jesus. 32, 36, 42, 42 are the lows, and the highs are going to be 48, 46, 42, 54. A high is 61 on Saturday and Sunday, 64. But still, those mornings are going to be cold. I think regardless, you're going to have deer moving. It's not our typical like we had last year, if everyone remembers correctly. It was 80 degrees. I will not forget that, because if Justin would have hunted one of my spots, he would have killed a buck. And then we decided to go to a bunch of food plots where we thought we were going to be hot and everything like that. And that day was a hot one.
Yeah, it was.
So
yeah, that was, and what was that, November 11th?
something like that. I
Yeah.
guess sometime in November. And it does seem like that second week of November usually typically is warmer. I hope that doesn't happen. But this first week of November looks to be real good, shaping up real good. So we'll be.
They're going to be moving heavily. They're going to be moving really, really heavy with this front. I mean, you're getting the perfect storm here. You're getting the front with some partly cloudy days and, pre-rut action. So, I mean, if there was ever a time to, use up that PTO time, I mean, this is definitely the week.
Yep, I definitely agree. Boys, any last words? I think Justin, we had to rush this one because Justin has to go write a college paper right now.
Oh yeah, nice little philosophy of the modern mind essay. So that'll be great. Really excited for that. So.
What ChatGPT's for.
Yep, exactly.
But boys, it was a pleasure. We'll see you guys in another week with another update. Everyone out there, happy Halloween. Good luck to you guys all. And, hope you guys shoot straight. And if you guys got anything you want to send our way, we'll gladly post up on the page and promote you guys and, congratulate anybody out there, whether it's a spike, a doe, a button buck, to the biggest damn deer you ever seen. Like we will always support all the hunters out there, and, best luck to you guys.
Yep. Thanks for listening.